do that from here. And I can actually, I'm actually stopped. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world and in Chicago, Illinois, and the metro area of Chicago. And I know we'll have some folks from Wisconsin and the Midwest. My name is Doug Bruhnke. I'm the founder and CEO of Global Chamber, and I'm the acting executive director for Chicago, which gives me a thrill to no end. My family is actually, when they came over from Poland, landed in Chicago, and almost all the Brunkes, there were 9 brothers, 8 of the brothers landed in Chicago. My great grandfather, Adolf Bruhnke, was the only one who landed in someplace else, and that was New York. And that was because my great grandmother, Paula, was upset at him for coming to Chicago first and not asking her to come back in from Poland. Like, it took a year. And so she got on a boat with her sister and they went to New York, and she sent him a postcard and said, "I'm in New York." That's all she said. And so the rest is history. The Brunkes and my family ended up starting up in New York, where I was born, and all other 8 brothers and their families are in Chicago and in Wisconsin, etc. So that's a little bit of the international background of that. The world is an interesting and fun place, and sometimes things happen that way. And Demitrus Evans knows all about that. She's heavily involved in trade. She's our advisory board chair and leads us and has been leading us to successful growth within Chicago. And we've got some really fun and interesting things and growth planned. Last year we did do an amazing event, and this year we actually have 2 planned and maybe 3 of like that. And then we've already started putting some pieces together for that. So Demitrus, I'll turn this over to you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your knowledge about trade and all the work that you're doing. And thank you for pulling us together today. I'll turn the floor over to you. And
Awesome. I couldn't find that
there you
little
are.
button to unmute. Okay, hi everyone. So welcome. Thank you, Doug. And man, that was a great story. I mean, I know it's a real story, which we're all dealing with our own real stories right now. And it's so wonderful that we can come together as a global community, especially for a community in Chicago, and be unstoppable and totally global. So you guys, I was sharing my slides there just because I want you to get an idea of where I'm going. Of course, if it seems like we should go in a different direction, this is our board, right? So I'm the type of leader that I really would like to have your input. I trust all of you and all that you do in your careers and all that you've accomplished. So why don't we start with just introducing ourselves, and I'll ask Zach. I'm not sure. My view is kind of weird here. Okay, great. Zach, will you start and we'll just go like zigzag across?
Sure. So I've been in Chicago for 18 years. Basically, I run a consulting company that does training, coaching, advising, and done-for-you services to help build up international sales organizations for my clients. I work in pretty much any industry. My clients have been a Fortune 50 company and a lot of startups and a lot of companies in between. What that typically looks like is imagine a company that is doing really well at domestic sales. Maybe they're doing pretty well in 1 or 2 markets around the world, and they need to put in place an organized system, an organized setup of distributors that cover either the whole world, or they'll come to me and ask me to help them build up in Asia or Africa or Latin America. And that's typically what I do. Sometimes I just advise them how to do it. I have a number of courses and training programs for this. And very often they come to me and say, "Hey, Zach, can you do it?" And I do it. And 6 months later, I hand them the keys of a working organization. That's
Awesome.
basically.
Wow. Zach, I was going to ask you, I was just looking, do you mind putting a link in the chat? Just so we
Not at
all
all.
will, I know we usually, I guess we know each other. We've been doing this, but do you mind just putting your link, your
No,
LinkedIn?
I will do that just now.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to Kevin Brown, who also has some exciting things coming up there.
Demitrus, hi everyone. Great to see everyone today. As Demitrus said, my name is Kevin Brown. I'm a managing director and team lead for BMO Bank here in Chicago. I manage one of our commercial banking teams. For those of you familiar with Chicago, I'm actually based out in Naperville, out in the western suburbs, but we have clients, throughout the Chicago metro area, throughout the Midwest, and quite frankly, across the U.S. So in my role, I manage a team of commercial bankers that focuses primarily on privately owned businesses for the most part. But we work with manufacturers, wholesalers, distributors, professional service firms, et cetera, and provide them basically with the credit and treasury products and international banking services that they need to kind of sustain and grow their businesses. So in a nutshell, that's what I do, and that's my role here. Been in banking for, boy, it's hard to believe. I celebrated my 35th anniversary last year and my 20th anniversary with BMO. So it goes fast, but that's kind of my role. We've obviously been busy. I don't want to steal Demitrus's thunder, but I think she'll be talking a little bit more about tariffs and what's been going on there. Certainly, that's been a hot topic with a lot of our clients and prospects here in recent weeks. As Doug pointed out, before we got started, Chicago is our U.S. headquarters. Our corporate headquarters is up in Toronto. So, being a Canadian-owned bank, obviously we have a strong vested interest on both sides of the border. So, again, certainly that's a hot topic with our clients and prospects these days. Just more of a really kind of a social and networking basis. I just want to let you know, I think what Demitrus was referring to, obviously it's March Madness and the NCAA basketball tournament. It'll be kicking off later this week. So for any of you, any of our advisory board members or members that are here in Chicago or nearby, BMO is going to be hosting some events later this week, some viewing parties, if you will. On Thursday, we're going to be downtown at a venue called Treehouse. On Friday, we'll be out in Westmont at a venue called the Neat Bar and Kitchen. And basically, anyone who would be interested, we're going to have obviously a lot of bankers. A lot of my colleagues will be there. We're going to have clients, prospects, a lot of friends of the bank, other professional service providers, et cetera. And it's, there's not really any content at this particular event. This is really more social in nature and meant to be just kind of a networking opportunity. But we'll have games on all the screens and plenty to eat and drink, et cetera. So it's usually a pretty good time. So certainly invite all of you that are on the call today. And if you have, if there's any other board members or colleagues that aren't on the call, please feel free to extend an invite. I did send an invite out to, I think, some of you or most of everyone on the call late last week, but certainly I have an evite that I could get out to people if need be. So.
Thank you. It sounds like so much fun. I'm already registered for Westmont. My husband
Fantastic.
is a sports guy, so I'm
Awesome.
bringing it along.
All right, I will. I'm taking one for the team. I'm going to be there both days, so I'll look forward to seeing you there, Demitrus.
Okay, I like your crew too. Thank you so much. Let's move to Michael. Michael Stone, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, and we've asked Michael to give a little bit more kind of update on his view of the market as well. I'll just say that Michael also works for and works with Ken Wasilek of EM Wasilek out of Wisconsin, and they are just a premier supporting group for exporters based out of Wisconsin, however, working all across the Midwest and around the world. So impressed. And I've had the good pleasure of meeting Ken in Phoenix at Thunderbird because he's a Thunderbird graduate. And I pass by it's either on the third or fourth floor of Thunderbird. There's a conference room that's it's either called the EM Wasilek conference room or the Wasilek. I think it's EM Wasilek where they've donated to Thunderbird, which is where we have our headquarters. So appreciate, Michael, you joining the advisory board as well for Chicago, and we look forward to hearing more.
Thank you, Demitrus, and thank you, Doug. Should I go ahead and do an introduction and comment further, or wait on the comments?
No, let's get right into it. And if I don't know if you have slides, do you need to share the screen? What do you think?
No, I'll just go informal for a few minutes on what we're
Okay.
seeing. So yeah, thank you both. It's great to be here. I'm Michael Stone with EM Waslick. We specialize, as Doug mentioned, we specialize in international market entry and expansion, handling both strategy and execution for U.S. exporters going abroad, as well as non-U.S. companies entering the U.S. market. We work across sectors, mostly with small and medium-sized companies, and I'm based here in Chicago. I'm downtown in Old Town, and I look forward to further connecting with the Global Chamber Network. So I want to start by acknowledging that many people in this group have deep insight into the situation, but I'll gladly share what we're seeing through our client work on the ground. So I'll start with our client work in manufacturing. For our U.S. exporter clients, especially those with cross-border supply chains, the situation has become more complicated. While not all goods from Mexico and Canada are facing tariffs, certain components, particularly steel, aluminum, automotive parts, etc., are being hit hard. One of our US-based clients, for example, manufactures 100% of their product in Mexico, and they were immediately impacted by new tariffs, which forced them to make the tough decision and ultimately implement an immediate 15% across-the-board price increase. We manage their international business development, and naturally, this puts real pressure on their competitiveness in global markets, especially since shifting supply chains is not something that can be done overnight. On the other hand, we have another US client that manufactures entirely domestically. While some of their key components are now subject to tariffs, they recently achieved major efficiency gains by implementing robotic welding lines, and this allowed them to absorb increased material costs and avoid raising prices. I think they took maybe a slight margin hit, but they decided to kind of absorb the difference. That being said, they do have concerns about their next material purchases, especially if domestic steel prices rise due to increased demand and tighter supply. So while they're in a favorable position today, the outlook remains uncertain. So that's on the manufacturing side. Meanwhile, our technology-focused clients aren't seeing the same immediate impact since their software, services, and intellectual property are, in some cases, less exposed to tariffs. As one example, we're supporting a European telecom software company that's pursuing U.S. federal funding through the BEAD program, which is part of the Biden infrastructure bill aimed at bringing high-speed internet to rural America. So this client is involved in fiber broadband network deployment, and the $42.5 billion in BEAD funding is now facing uncertainty due to the Trump administration's stance on pausing or reevaluating major federal funding programs. There's also pressure in this sector from Elon Musk to expand eligibility for satellite providers like Starlink, which previously weren't eligible for this funding, which could shift some of the funding away from the fiber projects and towards Starlink, which again was not part of the original plan. And last week I was at the Connected America conference in Dallas. And while I expected a lot of concern and doom and gloom about the status of federal funding, the outlook was more positive than anticipated. So despite delays and uncertainty, that industry is largely pushing forward. And outside of the federal funding, there's significant private equity investment flowing into broadband networks, regardless of what happens with the federal programs. So that's one example. But overall, for our non-US clients, because I mentioned we also do inbound development work. So our non-US clients, growing tariffs and protectionist measures have made exporting to the US more complex and less predictable, of course. However, the biggest opportunity right now seems to be in foreign direct investment, or FDI. The Trump administration has been loud and clear about incentivizing non-US companies to set up operations in the US and create jobs and stimulate the economy, et cetera. So in practice, we're seeing large companies with existing FDI plans accelerating and expanding their investments, whereas small and mid-sized firms are kind of stuck in that wait and see mode, monitoring how policy landscape evolves and unfolds. So that's kind of what we're seeing. At the end of the day, we're keeping a close eye on how things unfold. We're doing our best to help our clients stay flexible and ready to adapt as the situation evolves.
Wow, lots going on there. I am wondering, should we just maybe take questions now? I mean, I know, oh, wait a minute, wait a minute. Okay, no, let's not take questions because I want to go to my Renee. Hello, Renee. We'll come back, Michael. Thank you so much for that. We're going to come back because we
Hello.
might also need an opportunity to gather our thoughts. So please gather your thoughts for Michael on our questions, and then let's introduce Ray and Lothar. And Doug, we know you, but you can feel free to introduce yourself again.
Oh.
Thank you, Renee.
So hello, everyone. I am calling in from Strasbourg, France, where I live. I am an Ohio native, and I get back to the Midwest quite often. So that's the reason that I'm part of this council. In addition, we don't yet have really a Strasbourg chapter. We're working on building some up in France, and so it's nice to belong somewhere. I have been in the Global Chamber. I feel like it's been a long time, but I've had the opportunity to do once a year at the beginning of the year, Globinar on global mindsets. I'm a T-bird, so it's something that kind of comes natural to us, correct? Who is that's Michael? That's a T-bird? No, who is Kevin? So I am helping French and other European med tech companies, medical device companies that want to go to the US market. So I'm helping them with contacts and culture. So helping them understand the US healthcare cultures, the ecosystems that are different in every state, as you know, just how people talk about their body, which is different in different parts of the country. What is important at the moment, of course, every state is doing something different. So yes. So at the moment, I'm actually organizing really a mission. We want to bring 5 to 10 medtech companies to the US, probably at the end in September, October. I think hopefully in October. And just talked to the person. I'm organizing that with a French medical journalist. So he often goes to conferences in the US, especially in imagery, radiology, and ophthalmology. And we're going to start in Chicago. The idea is to start in Chicago. We fly over, spend about a day and a half in Chicago, and then we drive down to Indiana, which is the medtech capital of the world, with Warsaw, Fort Wayne, Indianapolis. Then we would fly to Phoenix and spend a couple days with the medtech system there. So we're in the beginning phases of this. I'm looking for ideas. I'm looking for ideas on both sides. If you know some Poles that are interested in Europe that would be interested in this. I'm looking for sponsors also, people that would like to welcome our group. This will be mostly scale-up companies, some of them looking for some money. So we'll be talking to venture capital companies also. And I don't know if I was supposed to go into this, Demitrus.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I
Okay.
absolutely love it.
I
Merci
just
beaucoup.
plunged into it.
No, thank you so much for that, Renee. I am working on a project. You know, I'm a Columbus girl too, right?
I actually had forgotten that. No.
I'm an Ohio girl.
Okay.
But I'm working on a project in downstate Ohio. So will you please let me know when you're in Indiana, because that's only Indiana. Yeah. Well, that's not that far,
I'll
right?
be in Chicago first, huh?
You'll be in Chicago. Oh,
Yeah.
I'll catch up with you in Chicago,
Yeah,
please.
yeah.
Okay.
We'll start in Chicago.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll just follow everything that you're doing. Okay, Lisa, I just saw you, so I'm gonna make sure I get to you. Lothar, we're just gonna go right across the stage. Lothar, you're up. Are you ready?
Okay, I am ready. Yes, my name
Okay.
is Lothar Solomon. I'm with ZG Worldwide, a multi-specialty consulting group that has a great variety of services, kind of like Accenture in a way, marketing, business development, healthcare. We provide accounting outsourcing in India and a great many other services, IT services in India. To figure out what we do, the best way is really our e-pamphlet, which gives an expertise summary for each associate in our global network. I'm not aware of any other consultancy in the entire world that has something like this. It goes on, but it gives a good picture of what all of our people do rather than spewing off, and it takes a long time to do that. So I could send that to anybody who is interested. And our pro bono side venture is the Central Illinois Tech Triangle, which is a regional branding economic development initiative to bring together all the economic developments in groups in Central Illinois into a unified message, because right now all these economic development groups are working in silos and they're all going in their own direction. And this is flyover territory that investors in London and LA couldn't care less about Central Illinois. They don't know this part of the world exists. It's a very wealthy agricultural region, but it is stagnant. So we're trying to bring it into bring it into the global economy to draw an investment. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so
Demitrus,
much. Yes.
may
Yes,
I
sir.
ask a quick question of Lothar?
Yes.
Yes.
You know, one of the things I heard in the last few days was the difficulty that farmers are having or expecting to have because of the tariffs. Do you have an inside view of that and how Southern Illinois is handling that, or Southern and Central Illinois is? Nebraska was targeted as like having some big problems coming up, and there's a lot of pressure they're applying to Congress.
There's a lot of concern. I actually subscribe to Prairie Farmer magazine, and with the low grain prices, a lot of these farmers don't know how they're going to make it through the year, because the China markets are going to be drying up, perhaps because of the tariffs. So where are they going to sell their crops? They have very high operating expenses. The last few years have not been good as far as grain prices, and plus the machinery. There's a lot of imported parts in the agricultural machinery, so there's a lot of gloom and doom, and the land prices have been stagnant or even dropping in certain areas, but they're just waiting to see what happens over the next few months before becoming too vocal about it. So that's what I gather.
Okay. Tough. Thanks, Demitrus. Thanks, Lothar.
Okay.
I wonder from the consumer perspective, I don't know. I was just thinking about like Thunderbird being about mindset. I didn't know that, but I guess I could have figured that out, because mindset is so important in all that we do, right? With all these changes and being flexible, agility, all of that stuff, as we're, sometimes hurting a little bit. This is hard stuff. So anything about the consumer perspective, Lothar, that you're hearing?
Well, no, all I see is what I'm reading in the Wall Street Journal. People are going to be spending a lot more money on imported vegetables from Mexico, because we don't grow a lot of this stuff like avocados and things like that. They're just going to be more expensive to the consumer. And so they'll be complaining about inflation going up and all that. So there's
Get ready.
negative.
Let's brace, right? We're gonna have to brace for it. We're gonna have to go through a change. Can it be worse than COVID? COVID
Perhaps,
was
yeah. I mean,
okay. Well, at least
depending how much of an increase there's going to be.
There's a possibility that we learned from COVID a lot. You know what I mean? Our world had to change. I was not Zooming like I am, now. That has definitely become something that has been world changing for us. And so I think, I don't know. My husband reminded me when I was getting like, oh my God, the world's coming to an end. He was like, you know that there were dinosaurs here before, right? So the world evolves. Like, will it be us? Will it be our children? No, who knows? But we are going to evolve and get through this. I'm being positive. I'm bringing your positive Monday leprechaun outlook. Thank you, though.
There's alternatives. You don't have to drink French or Italian wine. You can drink California wine.
Oh, no, they want the French people to be drinking their own wine, so it's okay.
I don't know.
Let us keep the good stuff here.
Thank you so much, Lothar. I'm going to move to you and give you the floor, Lisa.
Thanks. So Lisa Mazzoni, my company's called Growth Collaborations, which I started a couple of years ago. I basically work with experienced leaders who are in a new job that's bigger than anything they've done before, and they're, feeling the pressure to perform. So together we work on defining, practicing, and perfecting their leadership style so that they can achieve amazing results and get rewarded. So I started this business after 30 years in biotech and pharma, in operations and strategy roles, many, many, many global roles. So I've lived and worked in various parts of the country and in Europe. And so I really want to expand my client base to not just the US clients, but also to have clients in in Europe, in particular Europe, where I've spent a lot of time working in that area as well. So yeah, just checking out Global Chamber to see what it's all about and what I can learn from you and possibly, create some partnerships. So thanks.
Amazing. Thank you. Now, I do have to tell you, Lisa, when you said 30 years, I actually had to make your picture a little bit bigger because
Yeah.
I was like, you look like you're about 30 years. So whatever you're doing, amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're glad that you're here. Doug, is there anything else that you would like to say before I pull up? I feel like I feel like everything that I put in the presentation for today, everyone's been touching upon it. So maybe as you're talking, I'll, just show some of the slides.
Oh, no, please go ahead. And I'm happy to add more at the end, kind of an update of what's going on, that kind of stuff. But
Okay.
I'd love to hear from you. What's going on?
So let me see. So the first thing that's going on is we are going on this is our time period. This is the time where people need us. The globe needs us. They need our leadership, from our mindset to how we think about the global market and everything in between. And I think that you all have already demonstrated that today. That's why we are the global tribe. That's why we have all of these chapters all over the world, 525 metro chapters worldwide. So a little bit about us. Do you want to take this? I feel like this might be my first time actually speaking totally on behalf of the Global Chamber. Let me take it, Doug. Okay.
Yeah.
So our community connects leaders, and we're seeking faster global growth through collaborative partners. So Lisa, in the right place. Trade support, we provide specialized resources for importing, exporting through our members, right? So you need something, we got you. We are going to connect you to somebody all over the world and get you what you need. I really stand by that. I mean, that's what's happened as long as I've been here, 3 years. The global reach, I already told you about our span. Let's see what we got here. So this is our board. This is our advisory board, and we are actually opening up this meeting to the world, I understand. So welcome everyone who may listen or is listening right now. We are guiding Global Chamber Chicago's mission and vision, this board, right? So we're trying to have our pulse on what's happening in the Midwest and Chicago, providing industry insights and market intelligence, facilitating and connecting business owners, business opportunities. So our board is a diverse, seasoned group of professionals with extensive experience in international business, and our members provide strategic leadership and practical expertise. So let's talk about the region. When we talk about the Midwest region, we, like everyone else, is having major challenges. Most of it's due to this tariff pressure, increased duties on imports, exports, leaving, coming in. Like, people don't know, confused about what it means. And so they're reaching on all of us to tell them what's happening. But the sector that is being impacted the most, I think we've already talked about it. There might be one, automobiles, but construction, manufacturing, agriculture, they're facing the toughest challenges. And then there's market uncertainty. So we do have to offer, this is the time, right, for the leadership to stand up and really offer advice and thinking out of the box. Like, if we don't do it, who's going to do it? Because businesses are struggling with planning, new people moving into new roles. I mean, I have to say something as a woman, I've seen a lot of growth, with women stepping out and, being CEOs. And I started this smaller company called Sister Bosses because I just saw it happening so quickly. And so people need the guidance, not only for the products that they're sending, the services. We're hot right now. The impact on the construction sector. So I think we talked a little bit about there's the steel and the aluminum tariffs with the 25%, maybe off again, on again, like who knows, changing like whiplash. But this is going to, without a question, disrupt the supply chain. There's going to be delays in shipments, because people don't know. There's this back and forth, and that's what we're seeing. How do we get through it? How do we navigate it? There's no real stopping it. Project complications, budget overruns, and deadline extensions have become very commonplace from what we're seeing, and it reduces profitability and erodes client confidence. That's what I wanted to know. Like when we try to trickle it down to its very basics, what's happening, and we're consumers, right? So I'm kind of asking a double-edged sword here question. But we know what's happening as business owners, as being involved in Global Chamber and other chambers, but we also know that as consumers, we're feeling this hit too. If you all aren't, like, come to the grocery store with me. Manufacturing industry challenges. There's a problem with increased fuel, aluminum for all of these. Global competitive, same thing for that industry. I don't think I need to hit that again, but we have the export challenges. Lothar, thank you for really highlighting the challenges in the agricultural sector. Price volatility, unpredictable market conditions, long-standing established trade partnerships are strained, creating lasting. This is what we're talking about. What kind of a world are we going to leave for everyone else? This is creating a lasting impact. So we're going to have to get together. We're going to do it, and we're going to change it. We're going to turn it around here, and I'm going to tell you how. I showed this slide before. And this is just showing the economic implications for the Midwest, with job security topping us all the way at the top there, right around, what is that, about 8.5, business investment, GDP growth going down, consumer confidence going down, regional tax revenue. Okay, so here's some strategies that I've been telling my clients. We're going to have to diversify in markets, explore new destinations, and I do see them, coming closer to shore or coming onshore, looking at other opportunities. I'm with the company that I told you about. I'm looking at something in the ground on Thailand. I mean, this is not something I have been thinking about before, but that's shifting it from China, and looking at what agreements that we have there. That's kind of the name of the game over here. Like, the first thing that we're wondering is, what's the trade agreement? What's the trade agreement? How is that changing? Or where are the amendments? Can we get a better deal? Can we get out of this, this roller coaster with the tariffs? Can we recategorize? Can we restructure our contracts? Optimizing operations, implementing technology. We know AI is going nowhere and nowhere fast. All it's doing is speeding up. In the Chicagoland area, all I hear, Midwest, all I hear is quantum computing. It's going to keep, what can I say? Get with the technology in every area that we can. That might be an area that we want to, Doug, I know we've done something on it. I've been to at least 2 things on Global Chamber talking about AI and how it's moved, but it's been a couple of months. I don't know. Might want to, my understanding, this is what I took a tech class. They said, what right now, what we're teaching, the systems are already 12 years ahead. And I was like, 12 years ahead? So this thing is moving fast. So we have to leverage our resources, our networks. We don't stop. And Bethany is not here, but we work very closely with the US government and the Illinois Department of Commerce. And so we want to look at what they're doing. Are they offering things that could help with our clients or someone else's clients, so we can continue to connect them? In fact, I think I have, okay, so we have some connections, educational programs, expert advice. We provide trade missions, just conferences all over the world. You all know that. But there was something that I wanted to talk to you. Oh, so we worked very, very closely with the Custom and Border Patrol office. And Doug, I don't know, do you want to take it from here? Because I know there's been a lot of back and forth. There's been changes, and yeah, but I think we're still on. I got an email this morning.
So I think the broader question for us is, what frequency and what regularity do we want as the chapter going forward for events? And we did get kind of wrapped up in the spokes of all the government chaos because our next event was going to be with them, Customs and Border Patrol, and they kind of put us off, and we had a couple meetings, and then the new administration came in, and then the chaos ensued, and they basically told us, get back to us at the end of March, and maybe we can do it then. And so I suggest, Demitrus, that we continue, on a path to understand when we can get there, and if the end of March is right on us. So maybe if we could do something with them in April, that would be great, either virtual or in person. Either one is fine. I think the other part, though, is we probably need to schedule some sort of a regular cadence of this kind of event. And we've been talking about 2 or 3 different events in person, one at DIRT, one at BMO, and maybe one other. So that we should probably get those within the advisory board set and scheduled, and however we kind of move it forward. Maybe it's you and I kind of put a framework together and we send it out to the board and kind of move it forward. But that would be my suggestion. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that sounds good. I didn't realize like March really did fly by there. So yeah, so I think if we could possibly push this event, I really don't want to give up on this event. I really think that this is a fantastic opportunity to go behind the scenes and really talk to some of the real subject matter experts that are on the ground really doing the work. And
But
controlling it.
I think we should definitely keep it, but
Okay.
we shouldn't let it get in the way. I think
Yes.
just put it on a parallel path, and let's, get some Globinars set, and let's get our bigger events set, because that big event we did last summer was great. And it set, a nice tone that we could now build on going forward. People really like that event, so it's actually, I think, behind me. No Green River in the summer, but nonetheless it was really impressive.
Okay, excellent. So maybe the thing to do that, I really like what you said. Then let's get that. Maybe let's get some dates from DIRT and figure out who wants to be a part of that. Maybe we could try to do that when Renee is here. That would be amazing. And then we can have her speak. That would be great. And then so I'm down for that one. Then what about these are some of the round
and then
okay,
the BMO,
and then the BMO.
Yeah, and get Kevin involved.
That's in person as well?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So we can both do that and send that out to everyone. And then this is where these are some of the ideas that Dwight, is Dwight here? So some of the ideas that Dwight came up with, remember like a year and a half ago, we did a 4-part series where we looked at financials. I'm blanking a little bit, but it was like financial around the world, and we talked about credit finance and letters of credits, and we did it in 4 different webinars. And so these are some of his ideas for ones that we could take forward, continuing with fintech and their regulatory changes. I've gotten whiplash from them as well, but we do need some board members to take the lead on this. The second one is, and he would be willing for sure to take the lead on one of these, or if we combine them, I don't know. For trade finance evolution, looking for experts on letters of credit. So what his idea was, he's never really sure when we're presenting who his audience is, right? And so he's like, well, at what level of the kind of the global scale, we talk about it as if it's one thing, but it's multi-dimensional. And so I was saying, well, I think that in our webinars, what we try to do is have something for everyone. I think, my grandmother used to say, if you are always talking here, then your brain doesn't reach, to a different level. So I'm okay if people have to, stretch a little bit, but I do think we should explain things. So I don't know if you've ever thought about that, Doug, and I don't want to put you
we have. So he actually gave a presentation recently, I think, on this, and it was, I think one of the things that was mentioned earlier around foreign direct investment, Global Chamber was formed around exporters, and subsequently we've become more and more involved with foreign direct investment, particularly in some countries that emphasize that. And the US. And so I think that is of high interest, and we get a lot of traction working with different countries. And we do a lot in LA and San Francisco because of the inbound on that side, and we do quite a bit in New York. And we haven't done very much of that in Chicago yet. And I suggest maybe we think about some of the consulates in Chicago that we haven't worked with yet that would make sense, that would bring some of the companies and interest on the landing side. They typically also have interest on the outbound side as well. So I would suggest that be a thought process around the fintech side of it. There shouldn't be any confusion. What we're looking for is that it should be directed toward exporters or people who are landing, so foreign direct investment. So those are the audiences that we should be primarily targeting.
Okay, I will. I know someone's AI was taking notes. I don't know if it's still in there. I can't see it in the with my view, but I will make sure that I get that information over to him. So then his third one was cryptocurrency and international trade. This, world that's happening around us and few people are still talking about, except for those that are like under 16. No, I'm just joking. I mean, those are always the clients that call me. They are very young and it's just like second nature for them. So maybe thinking about it in terms of cross-border. And then exporter scenarios workshop, he was like, what if we do like, these are best practices and this is, or this is something that really went wrong, making it very practical for people. And then also people are in the US are still not as familiar for whatever reason with the iStep program that allows leadership opportunity to organize educational sessions to, they pay for all kinds of marketing things. They pay for going overseas for different types of workshops or for meetups and things like that. And so I thought that those were great. I can ask him which ones he would like to look at, and then maybe we could put the 1 and 2 together. What do you think
I
about
think let's you and I work with him, because I mean we have a lot of things to cover, and this is one aspect. Also, as you know, or I think you were copied in some of them, Renee is circling back with Margot Markopoulos. She spoke at our event last summer, and she has expressed an interest to talk again at Global Chamber. So give us a view, an Illinois view, and also I think that's good from many perspectives. It helps us get a view of things, but it also brings in additional companies, as Lisa hopefully certainly we want her to understand, is that we're mainly at the C level with companies and this decision level, which may or may not align with what she's interested in, but it certainly aligns with the types of decision makers that decide, for instance, how to handle sales, like with Zach, and which bank to bank on their international banking for Kevin. And so let's I would say maybe put a draft together for the year and just kind of map out, here's what we want to do. We want to set these globinars, get the dates. Let's center around 2 different big events, one for DIRT and one for BMO. And then if we can do something else, great. There was some other collaboration thing that was going on too, and I'll check my notes, but I think there was something else, Demitrus, that had come up of somebody wanting to do something. But I think it might have been related to the consulate idea. There were 2 or 3 different countries that the local trade people were interested in doing something, and maybe we end up either combining them into one or both of those, or doing something else.
I was thinking, wasn't there someone who hadn't he is a member of our advisory board, and what is his name? And he wants to do something on India.
Oh, Gunjan. Yeah.
Gunjan.
Gunjan, and actually Lisa and and also to some extent Renee, kind of being a chemical engineer. Maybe I'm overreaching, but kind of the pharma, life science kind of area and healthcare. To me, in my chemical world, I think of them all kind of aligned. And Gunjan does a lot of work in all of those areas for India. I don't think he's a chemical engineer or a chemist, but there's a lot of work going on in India. So yes, he has expressed an interest in doing something for sure. And I think he
Okay.
has a person in Chicago. So
Okay, awesome. I guess I don't know if we need to vote on this, but let me hear you if you think that this is not a good idea. What we're going to do is Doug and I are going to get together. We're going to circulate amongst ourselves a draft and kind of put all of the things that we've talked about. And then we will, after we have something that actually looks like it works, we'll send it out for discussion, maybe via email. Is that what we should do?
yeah, that would be great. And actually, now I just remembered the other one was Tom Thorelli, who is, I don't think, here. But Tom, I think, is joining the advisory board, and he brings France in. As Renee, I think you know Tom. He's been a longtime member. And so he and I talked about some different ideas to do on the France side of things. So,
Tom's helped me set up, when I help companies come into America and set up sales organizations, Tom has done the legal side.
okay, great. Yeah, and he's doing a lot of visa work right now, because there's a lot going on. So, Demitrus, if you're okay with it, why don't we just put a draft together and send it out to the board, and then communicate more broadly later once the board says okay.
Awesome. Sounds like a plan. And I saw Sophia come in. I wanted to say hello to you. Thank you for joining us. Please feel free to have some words, and then after you, we're going to ask some questions of Michael. Michael, am I right? Are you prepared to take questions after that?
Sure, happy to.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Sophia.
I thank you so much. I'm very pleased to join you guys. It's always informative for me. For others who don't know me, Sophia Legidi, the president and the founder of Amerock Exports, exporter of heavy equipment, industrial tires, and automotive lubricants, located in Chicago, of course. For your presentation, I applaud always the effort you are putting for the members. If only you add, you are aware about what's going on with U.S. Customs. If you can add something related to the U.S. Customs and to have for the exporters or people in trade to make smooth transactions. It will be appreciated to give consideration for that.
That actually came up. I think you might have been in the room. It wasn't a Chicago event, but it was one of the two trade events that we did back to back, where somebody was talking about how the U.S. government is checking shipments in different ways to try to stop chip sales to China. Or I may have overreached in terms of a conclusion, but what they said was that there were a lot more containers being stopped and checks being made for worrying about things getting to China. I think you might have been in there. And again, it might be overreaching. So I think that's a factor, and that may have been part of the reason why you got dinged on that one.
It's we see struggling. Imagine now we didn't get any response from U.S. Customs regarding that matter.
Crazy. So
that is crazy, and that it makes me want to push even a little bit harder that we continue with our with the webinar or in-person event that we started with them. So Sophia, I just know that we are continuing to be in contact and following it. Okay, so Doug, I was just going to take questions.
Yep. Yeah, let's finish up. I'll say from a global chamber perspective, we're very focused in on AI. We have an AI tool that's been built, and we're using it internally, and we're rolling it out to members the goal is by April to roll it out to members to be able to, number one, facilitate selecting events to go to, because we have a lot of events, and also make connections. And so internally, we're using that and making sure that it works. It works. It's amazing. And we've had it developed by the top AI expert in Asia, and he's amazing. So that's going on. We continue to grow. Despite the fact that there's a lot of noise, obviously, in the U.S. around trade and real problems with the tariffs that have been introduced into the system, growth is still happening. It was 3% last year. All estimates are still 2.5% to 3% this year. And so it's just a matter of jumping in and continuing to not be, if you can, not be distracted by all of the tariff stuff, because trade is going to continue. I think, Demitrus, one of the real key things that all of us know is the portfolio impact is so important in an investment portfolio, and just the same for any company to have trade in multiple countries. It's never been more important to do that, given the fluctuations and the craziness of today. And finally, I'll say there is a lot of new growth that we're doing, a lot of new chapters. This month is kind of crazy in terms of new chapters. This was the first time in way over a year, maybe 2 years, that we're having conversations in Russia. And so there's a big member probably joining from Russia, and just the concept of that reopening and Ukraine reopening, and the Turkey and the Turkey group of countries like Uzbekistan and others. There's so much opportunity to add in the Middle East and Saudi Arabia. It just kind of boggles the mind. So there's so many different things going on that we're working on and that are just happening in the world. Looking forward to hopefully bringing some of that to Chicago.
Excellent summary, and thank you. We do look forward to those things happening in Chicago. Does anyone have any questions for Michael Stone? Is there something? Hold on. I have a question at the.
I was thinking, Kevin, if Kevin's still on the line, when you listened to Michael talking, how did that resonate with you? Because you're right on the. I mean, you can't talk about a lot of the stuff that you're doing, but how did that resonate with you?
Well, I think Michael's summary, was very good and very thorough. I think a lot of the things he covered, are conversations that we're having with our clients and prospects every day. Specifically, steel imports, aluminum imports. He mentioned, I think, auto parts being kind of 3 industries that are especially impacted. So I think we're seeing that. I guess maybe just kind of leveraging his comments, I would say some areas where we've seen, maybe a dampening in demand, at least in the short term, would be just, clients, prospects, just companies in general, maybe taking a little bit of a wait and see approach relative to their capital expenditure plans, for this year. While we don't foresee a long-term impact, I think, we've seen maybe just a little bit of a dampening effect in terms of M&A activity and that sort of thing as well. So I think, all the things that Michael covered and Demitrus covered in her comments, I think we are seeing some businesses that are just kind of waiting for the dust to settle a little bit, taking a little bit of a wait and see approach relative to the tariff situation, some of the other, geopolitical events that have been mentioned. So I thought it was an excellent summary, and I think it very much resonates with, conversations that we've been having with our clients and prospects here in recent weeks.
Thanks, Kevin.
That was great, and it also, in my mind, then split, because what we see is it looks like it's all continuing, but I think it's because the U.S. side is going to be more cautious, and the foreign side is being kind of forced to invest in the U.S. And so it seems like it's all the same, but there's an increase and a decrease going on, probably. Just guessing.
I think the other thing we've seen is just some companies with maybe lines of credit and whatnot, given the kind of uncertain tariff situation. Some of them, are maybe, using this as an opportunity to maybe stock up on inventory and maybe build their inventories here just not knowing if, again, prices may continue to increase and whatnot over time. And again, depending on what happens with the tariff situation long term. So I think that's another dynamic that we've seen here recently with maybe just some companies, again, kind of proactively and strategically kind of building their inventory levels a little bit.
Interesting. Well, Demitrus, I think we're at the end of the hour. Do you want to make any final comments?
I just want to thank everyone again. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for participating. Go out and continue to be unstoppable and global. And if there's anyone that you meet, any business that you think, I'm going to put it on Doug, that Doug or I should talk to about the Global Chamber that will help them in joining the Global Tribe, please let us know, and we will be happy to share. I'm looking through my chats here. Okay, somebody else has to go. Okay, thank you. That's going to do it for us. I'll give you back to your afternoon. Have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Demitrus.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Hi, is that Theory? I didn't get, hi there. I'm sorry I missed you during the call. I'm not sure how long it went.
I was writing, you didn't have this class. I'm a specialist.